World, it's your main man Tommy on the spot, and welcome to today's edition. Obviously, we are in the car. We're not going to be driving though. Recently, I've noticed that while driving or coming to you live from the car, we've been overheating. I don't know what the deal is on that. So I hope we don't overheat today. It's only 81 degrees and pretty darn humid here in New York City. So I'm hoping that we're going to be okay today to talk a little bit about Summerslam 2018. Wanted to jump on with you guys yesterday, but I was with the wife, I was with the brother-in-law. We were all a little tired coming back home. By the time I got back home and out of the Barclays Center, it was real late. So rather than do that, I figured why not refresh, see if anything drops in the morning, and then we'll be able to chat about everything here, kind of on our lunch break here. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon here in New York City, and I figured what better time than to talk about all the happenings last night at SummerSlam. Thought it was a really, really good show, and I mentioned a good amount of, during yesterday's Breakfast with Toss, we talked about all the different predictions for the bigger matches that were supposed to happen at SummerSlam that did end up taking place, and we did pretty okay, man. A lot of our predictions ended up coming pretty close to what ended up happening. At least some of them. Obviously, I told about the idea why was Finn Balor on the show because this was the day for the Demon to come back. Why was Charlotte added? Well, because you're building to that anticipation of the Becky and Charlotte, feud and kind of moving against what they were planning to do there. So overall, though, I thought it was a super strong show. We're going to kind of do things a little differently. Rather than going in order, I'm going to kind of talk about things as they unfolded and kind of the bigger stories coming out of that show. And obviously the biggest story starts with the fact that for the first time in a really long, lengthy time, really since Kevin Owens had that title in the beginning of 2017 and towards 2016, we finally have a Universal Champion that is going to be on Raw each and every week. That being Roman Reigns. He did defeat Brock Lesnar last night at SummerSlam, and I thought that the way the WWE handled this, bow down. I thought this was really genius stuff in a way. I thought that the idea of having, I even tweeted at Watch Wrestle Pod, I tweeted that I thought they should hit Brock's music right away. He should come out, cash in, and do a three-way. And then, lo and behold, his music hits right away. It looks like he's going to come out, cash it into a three-way, but instead he guarantees that he's going to cash it in after the match, which really took a lot of the steam, really added a lot to the crowd. The crowd became super excited, and believe me, that was a crowd who every single time Roman Reigns was shown on the screen or Brock Lesnar was shown on the screen, they were booing the hell out of both of them. They were there with the sole intention of hijacking the end of that show and causing a major scene at the end of that show, and instead with the idea that, hey, Braun's out there and he's saying he's going to cash in. He has every intention to cash in, do it the right way. They ended up doing a deal where the crowd was really excited about it. It added a lot of excitement to that show. A lot of people might have been a little tired going into that match, but whatever fatigue they were feeling, you didn't notice it because once Braun's music hit and people thought, oh my God, we're going to get a cash in at the end of this match no matter what happens, there was tons of excitement over that. And then they got their way out of it. They had Brock lay out Braun Strowman and hit him with an F5 on the outside, throw the case away. And then they had Roman beat Brock and finally clean the middle of the ring. Well, I mean, you had chair usage and all that, and I didn't recall it being, I guess Brock used the chair on Braun. I guess he didn't actually use it on Roman. But Roman hits him with the spear, 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring, new champion. And from what I spoke to some folks this morning that were watching the show on, kind of on WWE Network, first thing they asked me was like, oh shit, did Braun cash in? And no, he didn't cash in, obviously. But I guess they were smart to kind of get out of there real quick before, I guess, they thought the crowd would kind of turn on the fact that there was no cash in. But I didn't hear too much of that. I think fans kind of were really excited about what they got on the show, what they were excited about, rather, and everything else to that extent. So I thought they did a really good job. And, overall, I thought it was a good show. And people are going to complain about the fact that Roman's the champ, but at least this is a guy that you could root against each week if you don't like him. I personally love Brock Lesnar. I think he adds a lot to the show. I think having him as champ is badass, for the fact that Brock is going to be going, he's a big-time star. Can you imagine you woke up today and the two top champs were Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar? That's big time, man. That's really cool. So, not to be, though. Instead, Roman Reigns is your champ. And now let's just go with it and see where it goes. I feel like this has been the idea to get Roman established as the top guy has taken forever. It's been 4 years to finally give him the shot to just be the freaking guy. So let's allow him to be the guy. Let's see where it goes from here. and we'll see. I mean, that kind of, for the first time in a long time, well, I guess I can't say that. For the first time in a few weeks, I guess, since they were doing the deal where Angle was going to be calling out Paul Heyman to get Brock a decision on whether or not Brock was going to show up. I'm excited about Raw tonight. I can't wait to see where it goes. Personally, I may end up going to the show. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, I'll be back with the post game right afterwards. If it doesn't, I'll probably still be back with the post game, but it'll be kind of just my thoughts on the show from a live perspective. But if you're going to that show, have a great time. Hopefully you enjoy it. And there's a lot of it. I think there's a lot of anticipation. Where does it go from here? Does Braun come out and cash in right away? Does Lesnar come out? Because remember, Brock Lesnar is scheduled for Raw tonight. He'll be there. So Brock Lesnar will be on the show, and who knows? Maybe he'll institute a rematch clause. Might get Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns on the show. Who knows which direction they'll go? Hopefully it's an exciting direction. The Raw after SummerSlam back in 2015 was tremendous. 2016, you had the debut of Bayley. I can't remember too much about what happened at last year's 2017 show, and I was at it. So that should let you know how memorable that show was. But we'll see how it goes tonight. I think there's a lot of anticipation. Probably the second biggest thing on the show, though, was certainly the Ronda Rousey, your new Raw Women's Champion, tapped out Alexa Bliss with pretty much very, very little. It seemed almost like a glorified squash match, but to be able to see Ronda live was really cool. It was awesome for my wife to see her live. My wife loves Ronda Rousey, has for a long period of time, so to see her excitement over it, I think was worth it for me. And it felt like a really big deal. It felt like a super big moment there. The crowd was really excited about it. I know that there were some police officers who, and I just minutes ago was telling a coworker this, police officers had kind of run towards our section, and I was getting nervous. I was like, damn, must be something going on over here. But no. The next minute, I heard a police officer say to another police officer, this is Ronda Rousey. She's fighting right now. She used to be in UFC. And they were just standing there as fans watching the show, which I guess, God forbid something happened, I don't know where they'd have been, but neither here nor there. Everybody was into it. Everyone was really excited about it. A really emotional moment with Natty coming out there. If you were sitting down on your seat, I don't know what to tell you, because you should have been standing up and showing her the appreciation to be there less than a week after her father had passed away, Jimmy Anvil Neidhart, and I thought that was great, and just a really good moment there. Natty seemed super good, super happy for Ronda. Ronda seemed really happy to have Natty there with that moment. Then they brought the Bella Twins out, and good God almighty does Brooklyn hate the Bella Twins. I knew they did back in the day, but boy, they had no interest in them whatsoever yesterday. Every mention of the Bella Twins, they were booed out of the building except for when Brie was with Brian. But wow, man, that was crazy. They literally, they're loving the moment. They're, embracing Ronda as their champ. Bella's come out to celebrate. Immediate boos out of the building. And, I guess that has to do with the rumor that came out that for WWE Evolution, it looks like it's going to be Ronda Rousey against Nikki Bella, and I guess people don't want Nikki Bella to have that match. Personally speaking, it's not that I dislike Nikki Bella or anything. I feel like there'd be a lot better matches for Ronda to have than a match with Nikki Bella. Again, no disrespect to Nikki. Nikki, I feel like, is a star and probably deserves a really big match on that show. But I feel like Ronda could have better matches with somebody else if given that opportunity. I'd like Ronda Rousey and Beth Phoenix personally. I think that'd be a great match if you're doing that kind of, current crop of talent against the classic talent. I'd love to see Ronda go against Beth Phoenix. But if it's going to be Nikki Bella, it kind of is what it is. I just didn't think it was the time nor the place. Why have the Bellas come out there? You had the 4 horsewomen in the crowd, and I know this because where we were seated, 4 horsewomen were running to the back, jumping for joy, super excited about Ronda winning the title, and in doing so, they ran backstage to celebrate with her. They should have been able to kind of embrace in that moment with Ronda and have that moment with her, but instead, it was the Bellas. It is what it is, and a good moment, though, nonetheless, for Ronda Rousey. I know people will say, wow, that was really quick, but if Ronda's only there for a limited time, whether it be a year or two, get the most out of it, what you can. Those tickets are going on sale tomorrow, the pre-sale for WWE Evolution, and to have Ronda Rousey sitting in the front center holding your women's champion matters more than anyone else, and I know that might suck to hear if you're a fan of the full-time wrestlers and the guys who have kind of worked their way through the ranks like an Alexa Bliss, but Alexa's already got a match on the show. She has a really big match against Trish Stratus, and I bet they'll have a match on there for hopefully everyone else with this being an all-women pay-per-view. So it bears to be seen, but it was really cool to see how much promotion was going into that show. Really, Barclays Center was really promoting that show heavily, which is surprising considering it's not taking place at the Barclays Center. but at the Nassau Coliseum, NYCB Live. But regardless, there was a lot of promotion for it, and it's cool to see where they go with Ronda as champion, and it's a lot of fun. And kind of, I guess this will transition us into the other title match that happened on the Raw side of things. Seth Rollins defeating Dolph Ziggler. They opened up the show, and I always say the second most important match on the show is not if the main event is 1, and then the opening match is 2. Nothing wrong with Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins opening the show. You got a really hot open with immediately going into Dean's music and like, holy shit, here we go with SummerSlam, let's go. And I thought those guys had, in-ring wise, the best match of the night. Ziggler and Rollins delivering again, and phenomenal match. Rollins gets the win there. People were a little really surprised on Twitter, which I was surprised people were so surprised that Dean Ambrose did not turn on Seth Rollins. Give it a little time. Again, like I said, Dean Ambrose is super hot over right now, and why would you kind of burn this away so quick and immediately turn him heel? You haven't even had the tag match with McIntyre and Ziggler against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. So give us a little bit of time, and but again, a really good match. And now your crop of champions there. You have Rollins, you have Reigns, you have Ronda Rousey. It's a freaking big deal for the Monday Night Raw brand. So that's pretty cool. Moving right along, let's talk about the fact that last night we saw the return of the Demon. That's right, Demon Finn Balor returns yesterday. I told you he was going to. He sure did. It is a feeling like very few, if you're a wrestling fan, to be in that building during the Demon's entrance. People were stoked for it. People are jumping their arms in the air and all about it. And good to see the Demon come back. It should be something that's kept special. And he completely wipes the floor with Constable Baron Corbin, as he should. Someone on Twitter, I want to say it was, I can't, maybe Dan the Wrestling Fan, I want to say, over on Twitter said something to the extent that they had, they did a great job by Balor. They showed that Balor, if pushed, can stand up for himself and come in there and wreck house and destroy, and that's exactly what he did yesterday, and I thought it was really well done again. So good for Finn Balor, and good to see the Demon back in action. Hopefully they continue to have him out there and they protect that Demon. I don't think the Demon's lost at all on WWE television, so good to see him back, and hopefully it's not so long next time. So I will say, having him back at SummerSlam every year is kind of a cool deal as well. Also on the show, one of the matches I wanted to talk about was the big turn of the night. Charlotte Flair winning the SmackDown Women's Championship over Carmella and Becky Lynch. But that was not the story of the match. Instead, the story was Becky Lynch going against Charlotte, knocking her out, the crowd losing their mind. This is the biggest pop of the night. People were doing a big, huge yes chant. Yes chant almost rivaled Daniel Bryan's yes chant. People were really into this, and it was awesome. Really great stuff, man. I can't get over it enough. I don't know that I've popped so hard at a show. I've been to over 30 pay-per-views, and seeing Becky lay Charlotte out was freaking awesome, and I was really into it. So I thought that was good stuff. And, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's storytelling at its absolute finest. You have Becky Lynch finally getting this opportunity to go back to the championship, and Charlotte, her best friend, cost her it by getting herself added to the match. Screw Charlotte. Glad Becky Lynch knocked her out and then laid her out. So great storytelling there. And kudos to Carmella. She hung in there with two of the best women on the roster. And, a lot of people hate on Carmella. Carmella hung in there, and she continues to get better each and every time. So I think yesterday was her best match kind of in her entire career. So it was just a well of a match and really good stuff. So, but it's now I can't wait to see what happens on SmackDown, right? Shit, maybe I'll go to that too. Why not? Just do all 4 nights at the Barclays Center. But in all seriousness, I'm excited to see where the story goes and how it unfolds moving forward. We should probably get to the frickin' WWE Championship match. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. I know a lot of people are upset. It was a non-finish, and that does suck for a SummerSlam pay-per-view, but I have no problem with it. This is the first of a series of matches between these guys. Samoa Joe out there, kind of egging on AJ Styles' wife, saying, he could be her new daddy, and this, that, and the third. It was, real deeply personal, and it wouldn't have made sense to blow it off in one rivalry. It made sense for AJ to lose his cool and destroy everything and use a bunch of anything that he could possibly use to beat the living shit out of Samoa Joe. And now, you can keep building up and eventually have those guys in Hell in a Cell and continue that feud onward as they should. So really, really good stuff. And I have no problem with the non-finish. Another match where there was a bit of a schmoz finish but there was a clean victory. I mean, not a clean victory, but a victory nonetheless. The Miz defeating Daniel Bryan yesterday in the middle of the ring with help from the old brass knuckles, from Maurice, the power of the punch, if you will. Maurice flipping Miz with the brass knuckles and then smacking Daniel Bryan, punching Daniel Bryan right in the face as he was coming through the rope there, and Miz getting the win. Hey, you know what? Now Miz can say he's past Daniel Bryan, and now they can continue to tell the story of Daniel Bryan now starting to doubt himself. Was this return a complete failure? Is he still as good as he used to be in the ring? Kind of who knows from there, but it'll be interesting to kind of watch how that unfolds. And I said yesterday, I thought Miz would win this match. First match again. The rivalry is going to continue. Wouldn't be shocked to see them keep these guys. I personally would keep these guys away from each other until further notice. I'd have Miz be the guy to take the title from AJ, and I'd have Daniel Bryan then win the Royal Rumble and get his rematch at WrestleMania. I think it writes itself, and that's freaking awesome. Let's see how that unfolds. But they both had a great match as well, and again, no problem at all with Miz getting the win. For the first of, I'm sure, several matches between the two, at least during this particular rivalry. Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman destroyed Kevin Owens. I don't know if Kevin Owens is hurt, but he may need some time off after that because it's getting ridiculous. He was completely squashed by Braun Strowman. I understand you want to get Braun over as a complete babyface and as a complete face of your company, but to do so at the expense of Kevin Owens like that, I don't know. I don't know where else you'd go from Kevin Owens other than to just take him off TV for a while, let him and Sami Zayn kind of heal up. Not to say Kevin's injured at all, because I haven't heard anything like that, but maybe just give him a little bit of a break, have him and Sami return when Sami's ready, and take it from there, because he got obliterated. It wasn't any other way you could say it, and I personally didn't really enjoy seeing that because I like Kevin Owens. Jeff Hardy, Shinsuke Nakamura. Is Jeff Hardy a complete madman? The guy has already stated that, he's 40 years old now. He's trying to take it easy during house shows because of the injuries that are mounting. He's not even doing the Swanton Bomb on house shows. And instead he's doing the Swanton not only in the middle of the ring, but then onto the apron after Shinsuke moved. Nuts. Completely crazy to see. And now Shinsuke can move on to other things. I don't think that Jeff Hardy needs the title for the storyline that he's going to be continuing with Randy Orton here. So it made sense for Shinsuke to keep the belt. And good match, though, between those two guys. Bludgeon Brothers, New Day, not much you can say about that. That was a schmoz finish. No reason it should have been a schmoz finish. You have this whole deal. New Day has to go through this tournament to get the match. They get the match, and then they get knocked out by the friggin' Hammers. Maybe they'll do a tag team Hell in a Cell match. Who knows? Was not blown away by that. I think that's all the matches, though. I will say I was a little disappointed that Elias was funny, but a little disappointing they didn't do anything with Elias. I thought they certainly were going to do a little bit more. Instead, he kind of just came out, ran down the crowd, and that was pretty much it. Wanted to quickly mention and go down those, you guys can see that. There you go. Wanted to, in all honesty, I don't know if it was just that we were there, we were excited, we were looking at the souvenirs, we were sodas and whatever we needed. Pre-show matches didn't seem like much. Felt like they were all kind of throwaway matches there. I thought Cedric and Drew Gulak had a good match, but I didn't think there was anything you have to go out of your way to see. And it was a shame to see the Revival. And they really do seem behind the B team. It seems like the B team is getting a bit of a push right now. And good for those guys. They've been able to push through. And anybody who's criticizing Tyler Breeze, saying he should be upset with his position in the card, look at Bo Dallas, look at Curtis Axel. They hung in there, they did their thing, and now they're getting a push, and that's great. Again, though, it's not the best to see that at the expense of a team like the Revival. So I thought that if they put those guys over in Brooklyn, it would have been cool. But that being said, not everyone was ready to rock yesterday, right when the show started for the pre-show matches. A lot of people walking around, getting their souvenirs. Everyone was in their seats, though, ready to go. I'd say by 7, 8 o'clock, definitely for SummerSlam proper. So it is what it is. That's pretty much it, though. I thought it was a really good SummerSlam. So much to talk about there. You had a great turn. You had a great... I don't even know if it was a turn because everyone loved Becky Lynch after she did it. Can't even say it was a heel turn. You had huge title matches. Intercontinental title changes hands. Universal title. Women's championship. You had just up and down the card. It was great. There was a lot of enthusiasm over the show and a lot of fun. So go out of your way to watch the show. If you were sleeping on it, think it was the best SummerSlam that had taken place in New York. Does seem like it's the end of an era, and so with it being the end of an era, and with it being Braun Strowman coming up here, and who knows if he's going to win the title tonight or if he's going for the title, but it seems like soon he is going to be positioned to go for that championship. And so I figured, well, why not go back to where it all began for Mr. Strowman? This Thursday night at 9 o'clock p.m. We're going a little early. 9 o'clock p.m. We're going back to Brooklyn for one more night. You couldn't get enough. We're going back to Brooklyn 2015, the night after SummerSlam. We're going to be doing it on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. This is an awesome show. You have returns on this show. You have debuts on this show. This is where Braun Strowman debuts. And really fiery Brooklyn crowd who was loving life as they had their first SummerSlam show. So that's going to do it for now. Before I do leave, though, I did want to also touch base. There's a rumor going around, I believe the Barn Burners podcast. I'll link them in the description of the show, kind of when I get back. They're saying that it looks like WWE is going to be bringing SummerSlam next year to the Sky Dome, the Rogers Center in Toronto, where the Blue Jays play, the host of WrestleMania 6, the host of WrestleMania 18. And if that is the case, that is fantastic. I love it. It's time for SummerSlam to kind of grow up, if you will. WWE should do a stadium show for that, a baseball stadium show. We were even talking over the weekend about how, as much as we love the Barclays Center, it would have really been cool to see WWE bring SummerSlam to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. And I think that by doing this, it's awesome. It's a different type of idea if they do it here, and there's a lot of people that come in. I'm spoiled because we've had SummerSlam in our backyard the last 4 years, but I'm telling you, sometimes I forget it. Yesterday I met some folks who came in from the UK, who came in from Australia, and you forget that for a lot of people during the summer, this is kind of the end of the summer vacation for a lot of folks. So why not try something different? And if they now have two different huge shows in the United States or in North America or, the world, if you will, that they could promote as stadium-type shows that'll bring a lot of business to that city, more the merrier. I mean, even yesterday you had Terry Crews doing the open for the Barclays Center, and Brooklyn's just been popping with all things WWE for a long time. So really good stuff, and apologize there, everybody. Looks like we're back on the air now. Hopefully there was no cutoff there. We were cut off. Someone called, and the whole thing got ruined there. So I do apologize there. But as we're wrapping up, if they do announce that WWE will be coming to Toronto, I think it's a great thing. I think it's great for SummerSlam to have a stadium show, and I'm looking forward to that. They said it should come down. If it does break, will probably happen when Raw returns to Toronto, as they already have a WWE Day set up for that. So really good news for our neighbors up north, and Toronto's a great city. That makes for a really good vacation there. You guys are thinking about that. So that is going to do it for me today. Hopefully Raw's good tonight, though. Let's look forward to it. Brock Lesnar's on that show. Ronda Rousey's on that show. Brooklyn should be amped up for it following a really eventful SummerSlam. Until next time, everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at WatchWrestlePod, also at TommyOnTheSpot. And this Thursday night, 9 o'clock p.m., we're going back, and we're watching Raw from the night after SummerSlam 2015 in the Barclays Center. The debut of Braun Strowman, a couple different cool returns, and we're going to have a lot of fun rewatching that show and talking about all the stories that came out of that year's SummerSlam. Till next time, everybody, this has been Tommy on the Spot. Take care. You be well.